Hello, welcome back. So this is the second part of the theory of distribution. Now in this part here, we're going to examine the more general case. Last time we discussed about the case where we had to distribute a plus b multiplying by x plus y. And we said that the way to do this is to consider the case whereby we pick one term from this bracket and then if we form the partial product of the of that term with the terms in this bracket, second bracket. Is you pick one term from this bracket and one term from this bracket, you find a partial product, you get ax. Still get you get pick one term here and then one term here. You may see form a and y. And then when you are done, a does not have anything to combine with. You can still pick another term here and you get your bx. And you can continue that way, you get your by. But in this section, we're going to consider the case whereby we have the more general term. Say for the first bracket here, we have a1, a sub 1 plus a sub 2 plus a sub 3. And then we have it up to, say, a finite number of terms. And then here we have b sub 1 plus b sub 2 plus b sub 3. And then we have it continuously. I have to multiply by, say, c sub 1 plus c sub 2 plus c sub 3. The general way to do this is to, first of all, we have to form the partial product of picking one term here. See a1 multiplying by every term here. So a1 has to go with b1 and a1 has to go with b sub 2. A sub 1 has to go with b sub 3. You can call it a1 or b sub 1. I mean a1 or a sub 1. So a1 has to go with b3. After we use a1 to form the product here, then we now use a2. Then we now use a2 to go with them. So a2 can go with b sub 1 plus a2 can go with b sub 2 plus then a2 can go with b sub 3. After we form with a2, then we can now pick a3 and continue that way. So you find out that last what okay, let's do for a3. Now a3 is going to go with b sub 1, a3 is going to go with b sub 2, and then a3 is going to go with b sub 3 continuously that way. So we will have a4 going with every term here. So every term here has to multiply every term here. Every term here has to multiply, and everything will multiply c1 plus c2 plus c3 up to any number of c's we have. So what we have is that this c's here we have to multiply every term here. So c1 we have to have a1, b1, and then c1, and then we'll have a1, b2, and then c1. Then we will still have a1, b3, and then c1. So after we get this post product, the next term we'll be having is c1 has to multiply every term here. So it will then be a2, b1 multiplied by c1 plus then we'll be having a2, b2 multiplied by c1 multiplied by c1, and then we'll be having so c1 still yet we multiply a2, b2. So a2, so where are we at? So we're at a2, b3, then c1. This process will continue, and then we now form the one with c2. So everything will be involving a1, b1, c1, a1, b2, c2. So it will involve just like it. The terms are going to be merged, and we're not going to write them down, but it will just be like, since we're multiplying a1 plus a2 plus then a3, and then we're multiplying it with a1 plus a2 plus a3, and then not a1 this time around, sorry, we're multiplying by b1 plus b2 plus b3, and then up to c1 plus c2 plus c3. Everything will then be, we have to take one term here and then take one term here, and then take one term here, and then form the product. So we have A1, B1, C1, just like we have the first time. Then we can take one term here and take another different term here, and then take another this. We may take a term here still. So we having plus A1, B2, C1. What it involves is that we just list out the numbers A1, A2, A3. We list out B1, B2, B3, and then we go for that. We list out C1, C2, C3. Of course, all the C's we can list. Then we form partial product. Only one rule applies. We cannot form one involving A1, A2, and then we form with B1. No, we cannot take more than one term from each bracket. So the way the product is formed is that we take one term out here, say A2, and then we take one term here, say B3. They take one term here, C1, and then we put a plus. We can still take another term here, A3. Take another term here, let's say B2, and take another term here, C1. So we are forming the partial product of all these numbers that appear here, but we are taking one from each. So we take one from here, and then one from this part here. We cannot take two from. We cannot take more than one from one bracket here. So that is how we can distribute term containing a lot of brackets containing a lot of terms in this way here. Let's do a concrete example. So I'll show you what I mean. So yeah, suppose we want to multiply out this expression A plus B, C plus D, E plus F. Like I said, we just take one term here from this bracket and another term here, and form their product. So we have A, C, E. If we combine A and C and E, we may also combine A with C and F. So we have A, C, F. And then we may combine A with, okay, we cannot combine with, we have combined with C and E and C and F. So we can combine A and D. So A, like A, D and E. So one term from this bracket, one term for this bracket, and one term from here. So A, D and E. We can combine A, D and E. Then we can combine A, D and F. So we are done with picking one term, combining with this from these brackets here. Next, we can pick one term here, B, and combine with, we can combine B, C, and we cannot combine B, C, and D. We can combine B, C, and E. But this means that we cannot combine it. We cannot pick two terms from one bracket. So we can combine B, C, and E to get plus B, C, E. And then we can combine B, we can already combine B, C, and F. Of course, we can get B, C, F plus, is there any term again? B. So I think we have done with the term. If you want to know whether you are done, like I said before in the theory of distribution 1, here we have picking two terms from here, two terms from here, and two terms here. So we are going to get a total of 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8 terms. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it remains 2 terms for us. And let's see, have we combined B, C, and F? B, C, and F. Have we combined B, C, and E? Okay, have we combined B, D, and E? We have not combined, so we can combine B, D, and E. Or have we combined B, D, and F? No. So plus B, D, and F. So I think we have combined each term here. So pick a term here, pick a term here, pick a term here, and form their products. Pick a term here, but we must do it in a way that no two. We must never pick two terms from one bracket, and then we should never repeat factors. For example, we could not write A, E, and C. They are the same thing. We cannot write this. This and this are identical. So if we write this, it's a repetition. So this cannot happen. In this case, we cannot get A, C, and E, and then C get A, E, and C. So these are the way it will appear. Next, suppose we have, say, A minus B. Then this time, instead of the plus sign, we are getting minus, minus, minus. Suppose we have this expression here. Just like before, we know that A is combined with C and E, and then A is combined with C and F, but then we have a minus. So A is positive, B is positive, but then we have a minus here. So what we have is minus A, C, and F. Then secondly, A is combined with D and E. Of course, only one minus, we'll get minus A, D, and E. And here A is combining with D and F, but then we have an even number of minus, like 2 minus. When you have an even number of minus, we get a plus sign, but when you have an odd number of minus, we get a minus sign here. So this will be plus A, D, and F. On the other hand, here you have a negative B let's say you combine with C and E, so we get a minus B, C, and E because I have an odd number of minus. Negative B combining with C and F, we get a plus B, so plus B, C, and F. And then you have negative B combining with, let's say, D and E, so we have a plus B, D, and E. I have a negative B combining with D and F, so we have a negative, 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 an odd number of negatives, so you have negative B, D, and F. And let's, yeah, negative B, D, and F. And let's count, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So of course we must have 8 there. And once we have 8 there, and we are sure that we did not blunder. By blundering, I mean we did not pick A and B from one bracket and get A, B, and C or something like that. We should never get terms like that. And we should never write A, B, and let's see, no, not B. Maybe we write A, C, and E, and then we write A, E, and C. That's the same thing here. The order in which they are presented does not matter. So this is what we are supposed to have here if everything is done well. So when we have a general case here, A1 plus A2 plus A3 up to any number of terms here, then we have B1 plus B2 then plus B3 up to a number of terms here, and then we have C1 plus C2 plus C3. When we group these together, like when we are trying to multiply this out, we pick a term here and a term here and a term here, and if we find that if some of them have a minus sign, a minus sign, if we have an odd number of minus, the term we are going to form will be negative. So assume that we have negative here, have a negative here, and have a negative here. So we have negative A1, B1, and C1. But if we have an even number of minus, then the term will be positive quantity. So we have a negative here, and then negative here, then we have a positive here. Then we'll be having positive A1, B1, and C1. So that is the general theory of distributing terms in a bracket. I hope you are enjoying the video, and please subscribe to the channel if you like my content. Have a nice day.